What's up, ballers? And let me hear you holler in those comments. My name is Cole, and welcome back to the newest episode of Variety Speak. Now, before I get started, I should mention this series has been on a bit of a hiatus, but Jacob and myself will be releasing these sports-centric episodes with a bit more regularity now. To kick it off, I want to talk about the truly wild finish to the first round of the playoffs, and where each first-round exit team goes from here. In today's video, we'll be talking about the Western Conference teams. Now, first off is the 8-seeded Portland Trail Blazers. This was not a typical 8 seed, and Dame's performance in the bubble was nothing short of inspirational, as he, McCollum, and Nurkic dragged his team into the playoff picture with scoring flurry after scoring flurry. While people were excited about Dame's MVP level of play in the bubble, I don't think anyone really expected them to supplant the 1-seeded Lakers, and they dropped expectedly in 5 games as the roster continued to crack under the pressure of injuries. So where did they go from here? Well, I alluded to it before, but the offense really isn't the problem. Every game the Blazers won, even against bad teams like the Nets, were shootouts down the stretch where little to no defense was being played. The offense and shooting is there between Dame and CJ and the now emerging Gary Trent Jr., The inside presence of Nurkic is also a great offensive fit with all these shooters, since he crashes the offensive glass with the best of them, giving plenty of second opportunities or simply putting it back himself. He also eats up opposing defenses every time they decide to double Dame, with high-level rolling and a pure post-up game. People also seem to forget that Rodney Hood, a key contributor in their previous playoff run, has been out all season, and should do a lot to help their depth provided they can stay healthy. Zach Collins also exists, but I think he works better for this team as a trade chip. And make no mistake, they do need to make some trades. They need to find defensively minded wings who can make a shot at least league average. People bring up trading CJ, but I think that's a bad idea. With his contract, there's almost no chance you can bring back a player as good as CJ in any kind of trade. If anything, the Blazers will likely have to include picks or young players to sweeten the pot. If you ask me, breaking up the chemistry of one of the best offensive backcourts in the league for a mediocre trade is not it, especially when CJ has proven he can raise his level of play in the postseason. The Blazers need to shed salary and build this roster around their 3 guys the right way. Having Melo be your best wing simply isn't going to cut it these days, and for that reason, outside of Nurkic, CJ, and Dame, no one should be untouchable. Letting Hassan Whiteside's $30 million expire is a start, but they should also get off Trevor Ariza's money too. There are good players on the market for cheap like Andre Roberson, who probably won't get re-signed by OKC. A player who was once considered among the best perimeter defenders in the league is intriguing at the very least when he fits the needs of this team so perfectly. Kelly Olynyk would also fit well with this team, helping Nurkic with the rim protection and spotting up on offense. An intriguing trade might be Gary Trent Jr. for the 76ers' Matisse Thybulle, who just came off an incredible rookie year of defensive versatility. The Sixers could see Trent Jr. shooting as an invaluable asset in their dumpster fire of chemistry, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised at any moves this boneheaded front office makes this offseason. Whatever the specific move, the Blazers have their offense in good shape. Now they just need to build around that offense so they can actually get stops when it matters most. Moving on to the 5-seed Thunder, the possibilities for this team are endless. Based on Billy Donovan's departure from the organization, however, and the video that Chris Paul posted on Twitter, I think it's safe to say that the franchise is preparing to move into a full-on rebuild. We should be wary of the moves Sam Presti will make though, as he has proved time and time again to be a very shrewd GM, an especially keen talent appraiser, coming from the Greg Popovich brain trust in San Antonio. I think it's safe to say that Chris Paul will be traded. His value will never be higher than it is now. The real question is how many more of their veterans will be traded, and how will the bevy of assets accrued from these deals look next to the treasure trove of draft picks they already have? Well, since sign-in trades are the new hotness right now, I'm going to bet on Danilo Gallinari fetching them at least one more draft pick, and a decent salary to keep their team semi-respectable and with the right balance of young guys and vets. My biggest question mark is what they plan on doing with Steven Adams this offseason. Lou Dort and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander have proven to be a very intriguing young backcourt for the future, but the Thunder are going to need to surround them with shooters if they don't want their offense to look like it did this year. Steven Adams is many things, most of them very good, but he is certainly not a shooter. Because of this, and to clear up some cap space for the all-important 2021 free agency class, I believe it is time for the Thunder to move off the fan-favorite big man. Potential suitors for Adams could be a team like the Celtics, who would love to have someone banging low for offensive boards and setting screens to open up their star-level players like Walker and Tatum. I think the rebuild in Oklahoma will ultimately be determined by how well Sam Presti can draft with his embarrassingly high number of draft picks. But out of all the GMs in the league, he has proven to be one of, if not the best snipers when it comes to getting talent in the draft at any position on the board. The future looks bright for these guys. Next up, the 6th-seeded Utah Jazz. Oh man, there is really not a lot of cap flexibility for the Jazz, who are now clearly going to look for a championship with the continued emergence of Donovan Mitchell. The problem is that the front office already pulled the trigger on their big move, signing Bojan Bogdanovic to good money and trading for Mike Conley. Trading Conley at this point would be short-sighted, as he has only improved with this team as the season progressed, and his contract would definitely not net the Jazz anything positive in the trade market. It is better to just stick with their guns on this one and see if he can improve his play, at least until the next trade deadline where he can maybe play his way to a little better value. In fact, I firmly believe the Jazz shouldn't make any major roster changes until at least the next deadline. I've heard talks of trading Rudy Gobert, but at this point, that would be very reactionary to a near upset against the higher-seeded team while missing your second leading scorer. Especially with Bojan's injury, the Jazz's lack of depth got thoroughly exposed this postseason, proving their role players couldn't keep up their solid performances throughout a 7-game series. Their first priority this offseason should be to sign a backup center who can play behind Rudy Gobert, without instantly tanking the Jazz's defense. Frankly, the Jazz's defense without Gobert is laughable, and a huge reason they should look to keep him, at least for now. If you don't believe me, check out the defensive on-off numbers for Rudy. It is wild. The Jazz should center their offseason around putting depth in the bench. Jordan Clarkson has been great for them, but they simply need to do better than relying on Georges Niang to hit open shots when it counts. Finally, we have the Dallas Mavericks, who have perhaps the brightest future out of all these teams, with ironically the least to say about them. Their cap flexibility is just about as bad as Utah, so they probably won't be able to make any more than one solid addition. But that's okay, since they are one of the teams timing their cap flexibility for the much more appealing 2021 free agency class. Their priority then should be to take some of the pressure off Luka when it comes to the ball handling responsibilities. Bogdan Bogdanovic would be an excellent target for this young Mavs team, bringing in that European style of play while fitting with the team's MO of shooting, being effective in the pick and roll, and being bad on defense. Outside of a marginal move like that, this team is simply looking to run it back this season with more experience, chemistry, and clout, hopefully keeping Porzingis healthy for the whole season and beyond. With all that said, thanks for watching the video all the way to the end, and please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really warms my heart. Look out for the next couple of days where we'll be putting out a video going over the Eastern Conference first round exit teams. And have a blessed day.
You got some kind of problem with me being a girl, you pig?